Welcome to the Divorce View Talk Show. Hello, I'm Joanie Winberg, certified human behavior consultant, divorce mentor, founder of Fresh Start After Divorce and GettingAlongSolutions.com. I'm so glad you're joining us, as we always have a great show every Wednesday at 6 p.m. And I'm thrilled to always be doing this show with my co-host, Rosalind Sedacca. Hello, Roz.
Hi, Joanie. Always great to do the show with you. I'm Rosalind Sedacca. I'm a divorce and parenting coach, founder of the Child-Centered Divorce Network, and author of How Do I Tell the Kids About the Divorce. And I'm very excited about our show today because we have a wonderful guest who's going to touch your heart and give you some wisdom that I think every parent who's coping with divorce issues needs to hear. So why don't you tell us about our guest?
Okay, absolutely. Our guest today is Karen Klein, and she's a professional photographer as well as founder of BrokenCircleProject.org. I'm just thrilled to have her on the show, and our topic tonight is going to be Children of Divorce Through Their Eyes. So I'm excited to get started. So welcome, Karen. I'm so thrilled you're here.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Well, probably our listeners are wondering, more and to learn more about the BrokenCircleProject.org, and just kind of give us a background how a professional photographer started this whole project and why you did, and then we'll get into more. But just kind of tell us a little bit about how you started this and why.
I was divorced in 1980. And I moved from Florida to Minnesota with my 3 children. In 1987-88, that academic school year, my youngest son was graduating from high school. My middle child was graduating from college, and I was getting my MFA. My daughter was married and expecting her first child. So this was 8 years after the divorce. And I'm like, wow, we made it. We survived. Nobody went off the rails, And it was a very, very difficult 8 years, to say the least, for all of us. But all of a sudden, we're here. 8 years later, we survived. And part of getting my MFA degree is doing the thesis exhibit. So I decided I'm going to use photography and make something about my divorce, about this process and how, I don't know what, I didn't know what I was going to do, but I decided I'm going to find some I was working at the University of Minnesota in financial aid, so I decided to kind of survey people I was working with. And if they were from a divorced family, I wanted them to tell me about that. How was that for you? How has that affected you in your relationships now? What do you think about your future? Marriage, children. How has all of that come together in your mind? So I asked them the questions and I photographed them, and that became part of my thesis exhibit. I had 20 big 16 by 20 photographs, black and white, and the kid's statement next to it. And, pretty much it was a couple of lines like, I hope my family doesn't ever have to go through what I went through. Kind of, statements like that. Then about 5 years ago, a friend of mine was going through divorce, and he was so worried about his adult children. They were all out of the home. They were adult children, as I said, but he was just aching for what was going on. And I was doing an art intensive at a school in Minneapolis, staying on campus for 3 weeks, and decided to revisit my divorced kid's story because of what he had talked about. It prompted me, oh, that's another project I can do while I'm here. So I came back to my group. It was all women, and there were 8 young women, that 18 to 25 category, age group. And 7 of the 8 were from divorced families. I told them what my idea was, my project, and if they would participate. All 7 of them jumped at it. So that started it up again, only this time it's a different world than in 1988. And I knew they would be much more verbal. I mean, nothing's private anymore. It's all out there on Facebook or wherever. So their statements were much meatier, much deeper, much more insight, and much more emotion. And it just kind of like, wow, this is very interesting.
What was kind of the common theme that you were hearing or seeing in their faces while you were doing this? Anything you want to share on that?
Mostly they, first of all, that nobody's ever asked them.
Seriously.
Again.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. That was one thing. The other was how their self-esteem had been hit. They were insecure in relationships. They didn't trust. For quite a few of them, Dad had an affair. And, you know, that was just devastating. You know, that they never expected that. One of the kids, now I'm going to tell you, my book is not, or the project is not pro or con divorce. It's just the kids' stories.
Sure. Well, it's like you're giving them a voice.
Some of the stories were not negative. You know, some of them felt like their parents really stepped in and did a good job. They never badmouthed each other. And one of the girls said, "Make no mistake, my parents don't like each other." But
well, that's a common theme right there, I think.
Yeah. But they didn't make that, as part of the kids' environment,
right? As
the majority of the parents did, obviously.
Karen, give us an idea of the age range of these people, because they're young adults, aren't they?
Yes, they are. They're 18 to 25 years old.
Yeah, and that's important because the divorce is still fresh in their minds, as opposed to 40-year-old adults who have different experiences. These are people who have just recently left their teens and are in young adulthood, and I think that's a profound age group to have worked with. Can you hold up the book for us to see?
Yes.
I have a copy of it and have read it, and it is a wonderful book, and I personally recommend it to every divorce attorney and mediator and therapist that I encounter, because I think any parent going through a divorce with younger kids who looks through this book and sees these real stories, these real quotes, the candid, fresh sharing of these stories, can't help but say, whoa, this is something that I have an influence over, and my story can be like one of the better ones, or it could be like one of the worst ones, and this is my responsibility. So it is a wonderful tool that I think every attorney should have, every divorce professional should have, because it may help prevent unnecessary mistakes being made. So thank you so much, Karen, for producing it.
Thank you. I appreciate your support, and everything you said is absolutely true. I actually even thought when I first saw my book, and I'm only holding 2 of them up because this is the Spanish version.
That's
available in English and Spanish.
Okay.
I had thought when I saw my book in print, wow, if that would have been in my attorney's office and I saw that,
yes,
I think maybe I would have handled things a little bit better, maybe.
Do you think when parents see that, it's what we could call a wake-up call for them, that they're seeing it in the eyes of the kids and how it could really make them be more wise as possible?
Well, I'm sure every parent who would look at this would say, oh, I don't want my kid to write that. I don't want my kid to go through that. I don't want my kid to feel that. You know, and that's true. But I think the emotions are so high, you know, when parents are going through that, and we assume kids are resilient. They'll be all right. They'll be all right. I just got to get through this. You know?
Especially, though, on a side note, especially more of young adults versus maybe they're worried about the children when they're younger, and then as they get older and they move out or go to college and move on with their own life, that's where I think they feel as though they could handle it better. But a lot of stuff sticks with them. I know you mentioned before that even when the children went through the divorce when they were only like 9 or 10, some of the kids that you talked to, it had been like 10 years and they were still talking about this stuff like this.
Oh yeah.
So that shows how it stayed with them, and like you said, no one has ever asked them, and that's what I'm so impressed with. And we definitely respect therapy, and most of these kids had been in therapy, but what shocked me is that no one just asked them point blank about this. So I'm quite impressed at how you were able to pull this out of them. It was great.
Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to read a couple of statements.
Please do.
Yeah. My parents divorced. This was a boy. My parents divorced my sophomore year of high school. After I became a parent, my mother was an alcoholic and my father was codependent and emotionally, sometimes physically abusive. The main thing I remember about that period was a sense of terror in the uncertainty. Was Dad in jail? Did Mom drink her way back in the hospital? But I also remember feeling constantly defiant, not just of them, but of everything that was out of my control. I thought things like, they don't deserve kids like me and Mary. Or maybe if I screamed louder, tried harder. I mean, that's incredibly painful.
Yes.
He went on to be in a homeless shelter for a while and was sexually abused.
Oh.
Now, here's another. I was pretty lucky with my situation. My brother and I were around 8 to 10 years old, and our parents were able to remain good friends after they split up. My mom was struggling with her idea that she was a lesbian, and when she knew she was, they got a divorce. It affected my brother at the time a little more than it did me, but the situation to us quickly became water under the bridge because of our parents' great relationship with one another.
Well, that's what I love, because if this was in an attorney's office, like you said, they have choices to see what path they could take as a parent going through divorce. So,
and I'd like to address something about that statement about resiliency. Yes, children can be resilient, but only when the framework is right for them. When children have security, divorce can take place and children can still have a sense of security if the parents handle it right, if the parents reassure them that everything is going to be okay, that this isn't a disaster in life, that this is just a change, and change is inevitable in life, and we can adapt. And if the parents take them step by step and hold their hands and are close with them and share information so the kids don't feel frightened or alone or out of the loop, then they can adjust to things. The resiliency doesn't work if we just throw them into situations where they don't feel loved, when they don't feel supported, when they don't feel secure, and they don't know what's ahead for them, and when they're filled with fear and anxiety, just as adults.
Right.
So we can do things every step of the way, regardless of the circumstances, to make it better or to make it worse. And that's the whole purpose of what we're all about, and I know you're all about with your book, Karen, is letting people know that the options and the choices are theirs as adults.
And what's nice is that you're doing such a great way of reminding them of this, because it is an emotional situation. People get caught up in it. So it's a nice way to introduce them, to have them become aware and conscious of how they can control which path they take as much as
part of, you had touched about this age group, and my focus on that was because they were out of the nest. You know, they had a little bit of distance. No matter when it had happened, they were out of the nest, and at least they thought they were on their own path, their own road, you know, and beginning to be involved in relationships.
Yes.
You know,
I remember some of them mentioning fear and anxiety and apprehension about moving into a relationship.
I just
so significant.
Came across, due to this, my relationships have always had a constant presence of anxiety, stress, and lack of trust. Despite my mother's awareness and concern for mine and my brother's well-being, this nurturing still didn't prevent me from being impacted greatly by the lack of respect from the other party. Dad had had an affair. The emotions were thick and heartbreaking. Due to this, I believe that I will never be able to marry, and that I will never be able to find a love that is strong enough for me to throw aside my insecurities and hesitation to trust someone fully and completely. Wow. I will always and forever be on my guard.
Wow.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, and she just graduated from college, so she's probably 22 years old. You know, and that's what she had to say.
Beautiful girl.
Yep.
Beautiful lady. Young lady. Why don't you let us know as far as tell us your website, and so that's where they can get your book. I know it's up on the screen, but why don't you repeat it to us and make sure everyone knows?
Sure. It's www.brokencircleproject.org.
And the other thing I'm fascinated about too, Karen, is that you're not stopping there. You want to continue this process, and
to photograph, to do more kids. You mean? I would like to. I would like to, and I guess for a couple reasons, because I think it's so valuable. It's valuable for the kids to participate in it.
Yes.
I went back and inquired. After I was encouraged to do that, asked the children who participated if they experienced healing. And 4 of them did respond immediately with in-depth comment about the healing that they experienced. And actually, even on my website are a couple of different videos, and one of them is with the Director of Guidance and Counseling from the University of Minnesota, talking to 2 of the participants and me. And Jessie, the girl he's interviewing, made the comment that she got more help for herself, healing, out of participating in the Broken Circle Project than she did from all of her years of therapy.
Wow.
And I know we talked about this, and what was coming up for me is that you created such a safe environment, but you just let them. I remember you saying because you just let them speak and talk and get it off their chest, so to speak. Is that what you provided for them?
Yes. You know, I discussed what it is, you know, the 4 questions I have, and you think about this, and then we'll do the photography. And while I'm photographing, then I'm talking to them. Tell me, you know, you had siblings. Who did you live with? Which parent did you live with? You know, what was the deal? What was going on? We were talking about it. And then they gave me their written statements. And I never edited unless it was too long. Then I'd take out, you know, whatever and send it back to them for their approval, because it was totally their thing, however they wanted that to be. It just had to fit into my space. So then with the photography or the photographs, I would send them a JPEG, and I said, this is the one I'd like to use. Are you okay with that? Because if not, we'll reshoot. And in that way, it was like a collaboration.
Nice.
I had that participation. And that was one of the comments in the healing statements. One of the boys talked about being able to sit down across from me and just put it out there. I never doubted him. I never questioned him. I never told, oh no, or don't say that. And it was the first time they were able to, this really was not good. This really hurt.
Wow.
So this was actually a cathartic experience
Yes,
for these young adults.
It was.
Many of them really expressed appreciation for having that opportunity. I wonder if any of them shared it with their families. Do you have any stories?
Oh, absolutely.
Tell us.
Well, this was an exhibit at the University of Minnesota in the fall semester of 2013.
Mm-hmm.
And in the gallery at the opening, there were quite a few of the kids, because they were students at the U, who came with their moms.
Wow.
They would bring, and some of them had really, really difficult. The first one I read to you, that the young man who ended up being sexually abused, he came with his mother. Yeah. The other one, no, there were a bunch of them did come with their mother. It was the mother that showed up. I know that another of the participants had taken the book to her dad. Say, look, here it is in black and white. Here's how I feel. Here's my story. I also have 4 sets of siblings that participated in here, and that was kind of interesting too.
Yes.
Yeah.
You set a perfect stage for them it's almost like you gave them permission.
It was permission.
To share it. No judgment. Just put it out there. Get it off your chest. And and just my hat's off to you, Karen. Just the gift of who you are, and took your talent as a photographer, as a professional, and then just kept it simple, pulled it out of them, and what you've done for these kids is just fabulous. It's amazing.
Thank you.
So impressed.
Joanie and I are very focused on the value of communication skills, and for parent-to-parent communication as well as parent-to-child communication, especially when divorce is an issue and affecting their lives. So what can we extrapolate about this so that parents who are going through divorce and have children who are younger than their 20s, what can we encourage them to start some of these dialogues and conversations as early on as possible without probing and without interrogating, but at the same time giving kids permission to vent, to express, to share, to just talk about their feelings? What do you suggest, Karen and Joanie?
You know what? I think that's another book.
I love it.
I mean, seriously, I'm a photographer. That I don't have the training in mental health or our family law in either one of those areas. I'm not. That's why I can't really answer your question. I don't feel qualified to answer that. But taking that to the kids and having them address that might be another book.
But the other thing too is even just for immediate support here, by those kids taking this book to their parents, if they can, it's not finger pointing to the parents. It's just saying, you know what, here are a lot of children, a lot of parents, we're all going through this. So I happen to be in here, but I just want you to have an understanding of what the kids are going through, and I happen to be one of them. And maybe that can take some of the pressure off the child or the kid, and then the parent won't take it personally or be defensive. They can just say, hey, this was just done as a project to help us have a voice. And so to me, maybe that can help build that bridge of communication between the kids and the parents now as they're
I think if this book is available in the family practice, in the attorney's offices, when the parent first goes in there, that's one place. Another is in any mental health office. The psychologists, the psychiatrists, the social workers, the school guidance counselors.
Yeah, like
very, very important.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's
that one. That one is huge.
Yes,
definitely.
Absolutely. If you're showing examples, just as you read to us, that are relevant to the conversation, it can do so much to expedite understanding and clarify matters between the parent and the child, so that both parents can be more on the same page on behalf of their kids.
Absolutely. So once again, Karen, I want to make sure they know where to go to get your book.
The book's available on Amazon.com, and my website is www.brokencircleproject.org. And you can click on the books link there, tab there, and it will take you directly to Amazon to order the book.
And the name of the book is?
Broken Circle, Children of Divorce and Separation.
And we love it, giving them or seeing divorce through the eyes of these kiddos. Yes. They're from 18 to 25. So it's just a great project, and certainly something to continue to work on. But Karen, I'm just so thrilled that you've been on the show today. You really have opened our eyes as adults to see what the kids are really feeling during and after divorce.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And I always am grateful to these 50 kids. I got 50 kids in my book right now, to each and every one of them, because they spoke from their heart. And they trusted me.
Yes.
So when I can take this, my book, and do something like this, they're all behind me. They're all right here.
Well, you've done a great service to them for sure.
Thank you.
Roz, any other thoughts you have too, Roz? Anything else?
No, I just want to thank Karen and encourage our viewers to watch us every Wednesday, 6 o'clock Eastern Time, and also to see archives of all of our shows. And there are some fabulous subjects and guests at divorceview.com. You could find them all. And if you Google divorceview.com on YouTube, you'll find them there as well.
Thanks, Roz. Great. Always a joy. And Karen, thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
And then to all our listeners, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.